scene.
There are agents, hundreds of them, that are found out in Nancy's neighborhood, the Catalina foothills. It's about 30 minutes north of the sheriff's office. In fact, you notice that some of the support staff here at the sheriff's office were packing some water and snacks, bringing them up to those agents that are on the ground there.
Authorities believe she was abducted. Surveillance video shows a person in a ski mask and gloves at her door the night she went missing. Transportation correspondent Chris Van Cleve tells us leaders in El Paso, Texas, were not happy the FAA closed airspace last night over a disagreement over drone testing.
There's a lot of anger coming out of the city of El Paso, government officials there. You have a community that woke up to news that there was some kind of security issue that would close the airspace for 10 days without any context. That created a lot of concern on the ground, as you can imagine.
It only lasted a few hours. Learning more about a mass shooting in British Columbia, Canada. Here's CBS's Cammie McCormick.
Deputy Police Commissioner Dwayne McDonald says the shooter was a former student at the school who had transitioned to female 6 years ago. Among the dead were her mother and stepbrother.
Suspect is identified as an 18-year-old female by the name of Jessie. We have a history of police attendance at the family residence. Some of those calls were related to mental health issues.
He says guns had been removed from the home at one point but returned. 2 weapons were recovered at the school where the suspect took her own life. Police say they have no motive in the shootings.
Senator Alyssa Slotkin responded after a grand jury refused to indict Democratic lawmakers who urged U.S. military members to resist illegal orders.
Yesterday, 20 anonymous Americans who we will never meet, who made up that grand jury, told us more about the values of America than Janine Pirro or Pam Bondi or certainly this president.
There won't be a new flu shot from Moderna this year. Medical contributor Dr. Celine Gounder on why.
The FDA is not reviewing the vaccine right now, not because it said the shot is unsafe, not because it said it doesn't work, but because it disagrees with how one of the main studies was designed. And that's an important difference.
The January jobs report is out and better than expected with 130,000 jobs added. Business analyst Jill Schlesinger.
This was ahead of expectations. Most analysts thought there would be maybe 50 or 60,000 jobs created.
Despite the good report, stocks struggled throughout the day today, ending in negative territory. This is CBS News.
Follow and listen to CBS News Roundup on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Bopper, founder and chairman of Burke America Parts Group, a family of brands that includes RepairClinic.com, an appliance and HVAC parts solution company that's grown into an international brand. Before AmericanEagle.com, we partially launched a new technology platform developed by another firm. American Eagle helped take our technology to a whole new level with digital marketing, software development, and business insights into our key markets, appliances, HVAC, and outdoor power equipment, and did so both on time and on budget. AmericanEagle.com has the resources, experience, and talent needed to produce solutions. Our new technology platform, developed by AmericanEagle.com, has produced tremendous results with higher traffic, conversion, engagement, and online revenue. If you have any home repairs you need to take care of, check us out at RepairClinic.com. If you need a world-class website or technology project, then I would highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
Call AmericanEagle.com at 773-NETWORK. That's AmericanEagle.com, 773-NETWORK.
Good afternoon. The fire department's still trying to clean up this wreck over here. Hopefully they'll be out of here in a few minutes. 40 eastbound, just before you get to Fessler's. It put a lot of strain on that traffic on 24 at the Sullivan Evans Bridge when they were all sitting there a few minutes ago on 40 eastbound, just before Fessler's. It's already heavy over here on this side of town anyway. It continues to run a little bit slow, 65 north up towards Goodlettsville. Watch your radar, 24 out through Rutherford County. STR Towing and Recovery says give them a call if you need their help. I'm Commander Chuck. You're on time traffic.
We do it your way. Pizza, pizza.
Murfreesboro's favorite pizza is now hiring at all 3 locations. That's right. Join the Surf Pizza team. Just stop on in and ask for a manager.
Rutherford weather.
Clear skies tonight with lows around 30. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. Tomorrow, high temperatures reach up to 54. I'm WGNS meteorologist Derek Height. Currently 57.
Premier 6 Theater on Broad in Jackson Heights.
Let's all go to the movies.
Check out what's showing at murfreesboromovies.com. Popcorn popped fresh daily.
Movies like the good old primitive.
Premier 6 on Broad in Jackson Heights.
We're the Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, audio and video streaming at wgnsradio.com.
From the first pitch to the final buzzer, this is where the conversation starts. All sports talk on WGNS and Big G TV, covering the Preps, MTSU, news from Tennessee and nationwide. Now, here's All Sports Talk on the Good Neighbor Network.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time once again for All Sports Talk here on a Wednesday night, Wednesday, February 11th, 2026. Valentine's Day weekend will be upon us soon, and we're going to try to make it a lovely evening here on All Sports Talk. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined for the second time on this show by a man I consider to be a true GOAT. Willie Fayler's on the show, and Willie, you know, we've had you on once before, but things have changed over the past few weeks, and you got a new role. You're now part of MTSU Athletics, and you are the MTSU Baseball Sports Information Director. So we're going to talk a little bit of MTSU baseball tonight, get more into that as we go on. But first things first, how's the new role treating you, and how does it feel to be the new baseball SID?
Dude, it's been a whirlwind of the last 2 weeks, really. I got offered the job about 3 days before that snowstorm came in, and so that kind of wiped out a lot of the training opportunities I got with the previous SID before he stepped out of that role. But it's certainly been a good time so far, and it's been a joy to really get to know the team and get closer with the coaching staff and a lot of guys I was already familiar with.
Yeah, I mean, when you are around that program, I'm sure you've seen it as well. There's a lot of cool characters that are part of it, and it's a cool atmosphere to just get yourself involved in. And of course, we both love the sport of baseball, so to be involved in college baseball, and especially MTSU baseball in that sort of capacity, I'm sure it's got to be a really, really cool honor for you. So, like I said, we got a lot to talk about when it comes to this baseball team. I want to start off by talking about players that we should keep an eye on going into this season, because there are, I think, some superstars who have potential on this roster. Just in general, who are the guys that come to mind who you think could be due for a breakout year?
I wouldn't really call it a breakout, and it just more be of him putting it all together and staying healthy, and that being Drew Horn, because that guy is just an insane weapon on the mound. A junior righty for the Blue Raiders, redshirt junior, transferred in from Walters State last year, only made about 8 or 9 starts due to some injury things going on. He had a lot of things fighting against him last year, but with the little bit of time he was on the mound, it was a lot of really good through. No hitter against Oakland last March, went 5 innings of double-digit strikeouts, leading to a win over Western Kentucky, who was ranked 20th at the time. That was the one out of the 3 the Blue Raiders were able to take on the road in Bowling Green. And so Drew, really before the injury concerns set in, there was a lot of draft buzz around him, and I expect that to come right back once he shows he can do it for 2 or 3 starts.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as health goes, he's good to go for this season, right?
Yes, yeah, no holds there, and no starters to be announced yet by Coach Myers. Hopefully, there will be a different status on that in the next hour or so. But as of right now, Drew Horn lined up to pitch sometime this weekend.
Yeah, and like you said, I'd expect him to be a huge weapon for MTSU from the mound this season. A guy who certainly has a lot of potential in the pros and for MTSU this year. One thing that's always a big question with college baseball teams whenever you get into a new year are the arms. We just talked about Drew Horn. And that's one area I think the consensus is that MTSU has potentially made some upgrades this year. Talk about who are some of the new additions and who are going to be the starting pitchers and guys you expect coming out of the pen here in 2026.
Yeah, I mean, sticking with that rotation, Coach Myers said it today in an interview he had with a on-campus media outlet, is that's kind of the joy of the staff that they've assembled this year, between a lot of portal recruiting, a lot of guys coming up from JUCO. Is it's not like some teams where it's like, okay, we've got our 3 starters and that's the way it's going to be. It's going to be a more fluid staff, and I think a lot of that's just going to come from need and matchups for this group is going to be what that looks like. But certainly a lot of different names. Chandler Alderman coming back for year 3 with the Blue Raiders.
Yes,
he's going to be the Robin to Drew Horn's Batman, I would imagine. And then sticking on that, just looking at some of those newer guys, the name that's really been thrown out a lot to me, there's been 3 big ones. Gavin King, a transfer from Vol State Community College. He'll be a sophomore. 6'7" frame. The heater runs up to 97.
Whew.
So certainly has a weapon there, and a guy that's going to be able to get on hitters quick. The other two that have jumped out to me, Ethan Robinson, a Murfreesboro native, went to Donaldson Christian, spent a year at Vanderbilt, realized something, I don't know, led to the choice for him to come down here to Middle Tennessee. I think he's going to be one of those big newcomer arms. And the last one for me is Abel Alberon. He is a transfer from Florida Southwest Community College. He's the third member from Florida Southwest team from 2 years ago to transfer up to Middle Tennessee, and I think he'll be a big part of that staff, along with former teammate and second-year Blue Raider Landon Birch, a guy that we saw get a lot of midweek starts. Wouldn't shock me to see him do the same.
Yeah, and you've seen these arms at work a couple times, I'm sure, in practice. How do you feel they're doing just generally as far as progress and development in this early part of the season? How are they kind of congealing as a unit so far?
I mean, the thing that jumped out at me back when I was still working in student media was the opportunity I got to see them last October when they hosted Walters State, who was at the time the #1 junior college in the country. They just won the World Series in Grand Junction, or gotten pretty close to it, and they went 9 innings shutout ball, and it was a different pitcher every single inning. Horn went out there against his former squad in the 3rd inning, was looking up at that scoreboard trying to run the heater up against some of his buddies. And so I think that was really a showcase of what some of these guys can do. Walters ended up putting up 3 runs in extra innings. They played 14 total on the day, but through the first 9, and Myers really running out a lot of the different options there, just being able to see them do that and then going, wow, they look a heck of a lot better than they did in October when they were making one of the best junior college teams look a little silly. And I know there's a lot of people at home that are going to be saying, well, it's a junior college, completely different level. And you're right. Coach Myers has been very adamant. He mentioned it at the Groundhog Day luncheon a week ago. Conference USA, really, when you look at the grand schematics of things in college baseball, that's a top 5 program, especially looking at that RPI and some of the bigger names in the conference.
Yeah, I mean, really, Conference USA in general has got some really solid teams. We'll get more into that this season, but the competitiveness is certainly going to be at a high level in CUSA this year. The bats for MTSU undergoing a bit of a shift this year as well. You have some of your leaders like an Eston Snyder who have now graduated, so obviously there are going to be some big voids to fill, guys who want to step up. Who are the batters that you think are going to help lead the charge and get some runs on the board this season for MT?
Well, I'm really glad you brought this point up because you mentioned Eston. Really, the only other guy they lost was Trace Phillips, who was pretty much your everyday first baseman when the two-way guy wasn't on the bump on Friday nights last year for when he was able to be on the field. Trace also dealing with some injury issues and then ultimately signing the second richest contract ever for an undrafted free agent when he signed with the Tampa Bay Rays.
Pretty darn good.
For the Blue Raiders, it's 7 of your 9 starters returning, although some of those guys dealt with some injuries, so it's going to feel like it's really 4 more additions to that lineup. Nathan Brewer coming back in left field, son of Blue Raider Hall of Famer Mudcat Brewer. And Nathan, in about 20 games last year, like 6 home runs, was leading the team before he went down with a hand injury. The other guy that really fits that mold that jumps out to me is going to be the second baseman, Cooper Clapp. He's kind of on schedule to be that everyday second baseman, and he had a really good game and a half in that opening series against Bowling Green before smashing the hamate in his left hand. That led to him missing some time. Felt like he wasn't ever really right, but then went to summer ball. I believe he was with the Tri-City Chili Peppers and hit 275, so that's a guy that I really think is going to be a big addition for this lineup.
Shout out Coastal Plain League.
But the 2 returners that you were getting at, it'll be Owen Nowak is going to be the guy that gets a majority of that run in center, taking over for Eston Snyder, and certainly some big shoes to fill for Nowak, but a guy that was at McHenry County Junior College in Kentucky, hit 470 across 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so certainly feels like Coach Myers got one of them ones out of the portal to take over center field for them, and then filling that first base void that was kind of open last year with Trace's injury issues. Dean O'Neill stepping in. He was a 3-year starter up at Maine, so coming down south to be with the Blue Raiders. He's going to slot in as the everyday first baseman, going to be the backup catcher to Tyler Minnick. And O'Neill, a guy that can rake 9 bombs last year, hit about 280, so it's going to be just another thumper to add to this lineup.
Yeah, and kind of just reconfirming what we just talked about. on an average game day when you look at the lineup? Who do you expect to be in the certain positions? What's it going to look like for fans just watching? Who's going to be where, basically?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can chalk O'Neill and Minnick in to split time between catching and at first base, and then Jackson Janela, the backup catcher last year, he'll get a little bit of run there behind the plate as well. Looking at second base, you're going to see a little bit of a mixture between Cooper Clapp and Clay Badalak. Badalak also going to get some run at third, the graduate student, after getting another year thanks to the Diego Pavia ruling, and that's certainly a guy that the staff is really happy to have back. He was the male breakout athlete of the year for the Blue Raider Awards last year, so certainly a guy they're happy to have back. Matt Wolf going to be your everyday shortstop. There's not much that's going to keep Matt Wolf off of the diamond. And then the outfield is going to be kind of the harder one to tell because obviously the staff's going to have guys that they hold in higher regards than others, but it's going to be really hard to get to that point because there's 7 or 8 different guys on this team because you kind of anticipate Nathan Brewer, Owen Nowak, and Brett Rogers to get a lot of run out there, but also you have the redshirt freshmen Lane Akers and Connor Bowden. Both of them are going to get some run as well. Yeah, Connor Bowden really strong with the glove, and Lane Akers the definition of just a utility guy. That's the bat is there for sure with Lane, and then some other guys. Keaton Ray, a senior that came down from Walters State, really pretty swing from the left side. He's going to get into 1 or 2 bombs that are just going to make you drop your jaw and go, how did he do that? It'll end up hitting Coach Mason out on the practice field one of these days. I told him that earlier. I'm convinced he's going to do it. And then the other one that stands out is Kenny McKinley, a guy who came off of back-to-back ACL tears leading to back-to-back redshirts, got to play for the first time last year. Limited time really as a 5th outfielder for this group, but pinch hit a lot, pinch ran at some times, and it's a power-speed combo that's going to make him very valuable.
Well, going back to what we talked about with how this team's been practicing as of late, how do you think they feel about their preparation going into this season? What's the general vibe going into 2026 about what they've done preparation-wise to round themselves into form, and how has that come together for them so far in the offseason?
Yeah, I mean, the message that I believe Coach Myers has been sending all the time is a lot of people go, well, how are you going to build off of what might be seen as a disappointing season last year? And they don't care. Last year was last year, and
in the rearview mirror,
a lot of new faces, a lot of returning faces, and I think that's going to be their strength is the amount of guys coming back that have that experience of a grueling Conference USA schedule, and then what this staff is able to build with the out-of-conference schedule, because it's a lot of bigger names. Bellarmine might be the smallest name they play on the staff, and it's going to be a lot of those Tuesdays where you're kind of like, oh, okay, that's your off day. It's not for the Blue Raiders.
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be some big opportunities early in the season as well for this team to get where they need to be. So kind of following up on that question about the preparation that they've had in practice as of late, as far as attitude and philosophy and mindset for this team going into this new season, obviously when you're starting off a new year, you have goals, you have aspirations of where you want to go, what you want to do. Is this team going to try to take it one series at a time, just do what they need to do in front of them and then let things come afterward? Do they have a certain goal they're trying to reach this year? Or what have you gotten from them as far as that goes?
Yeah, I mean, no quantitative goal, really. I think this group's just focused on doing the best that they can day in and day out, putting their best foot forward every time they go out there on the diamond. I mean, obviously, you don't want to miss the conference tournament again, so I have to feel like that's probably... Like, if you had to choose a goal for this group, I think they really want to go down to Kennesaw this year, where the Conference USA tournament is, and go make some noise. And, I mean, I think everybody wants to try to get to the big dance.
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone obviously wants to get to the big dance. And, I mean, hey, we just saw Murray State last year make the College World Series. So, smaller schools at Coastal Carolina made the national championship game. So, if you're an MTSU, you're seeing teams like that have great success, have great accomplishment. Obviously, Western was a ranked team last year as well. So as far as the ceiling for this team, if they play their cards right and they play well, they can accomplish just about anything they set their mind to. So they've just got to, like you mentioned, keep things in front of them, I'd say, for the rest of this season and see where things go, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely the mindset that some guys on this team have. Drew Horn specifically, I remember he told a reporter that one of the best things about having Murray State on their schedule, they've got a home and home midweek. The first one in first one in Murray, second one in Murfreesboro, both of those happening more towards March. But Drew said, and put it very simply, they did it. Why not us?
Yeah, and I think that's a good attitude to have because, again, they're going to face some tough teams on the schedule. We'll get more into that later as far as who they're going to play this season. But if you have that attitude that, hey, they did it, we can do it as well, anything is possible for this MTSU baseball team as they move forward. All right, well, we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will have our schedule preview for MTSU baseball, and we'll talk a little bit about Coach Jerry Myers and how he has helped to assemble this roster this season and what they're looking for throughout the rest of the year. Back in just a few moments right here on All Sports Talk.
Jennings and Ayers Funeral Home has served Murfreesboro families with compassion and care since 1880. As a family-owned funeral home, we're committed to honoring every life with dignity through traditional services, cremation options, and pre-planning that gives you peace of mind. For over 140 years, we've been here when it matters most. Visit JenningsandAyers.com. Jennings and Ayers Funeral Home, honoring life and comforting families since 1880.
When illness or injury turns everyday moments into uphill battles, there are medical professionals who step in with skill, compassion, and unwavering dedication. My name is Joey P. I'm CEO of Murfreesboro Medical Clinic, and we are proud to highlight this month's MMC Heart for Healing recipient.
We recognize Dr. Sean Horwitz, a surgeon at MMC, whose reputation is built on as much his heart as it is his hands. Dr. Horwitz makes every patient feel like his priority. Whether performing complex robotic surgery or providing life-changing breast care, he combines elite technical precision with a rare, compassionate touch that truly defines him. Dr. Sean Horwitz, our MMC Heart for Healing.
If a doctor, nurse, or medical professional has made a difference in your life, tell WGNS. Help us recognize the medical heroes in our community by nominating them for the MMC Heart for Healing Award, and help us recognize the medical heroes in our community.
Lace up your best kicks for a night of impact benefiting First Shot. Join us for the annual Sneaker Ball, presented by Venture Express. Spend Sunday, April 26th with NFL Hall of Famer and Super Bowl MVP Marcus Allen. The event kicks off at 6 with a VIP meet and greet at 5. Reserve your table today. Call Coach Andy Herzer at 615-631-5312. We'll see you at the Sneaker Ball, benefiting First Shot on April 26th.
This is Chip Walters, and I'm honored to be your 2024 MTAR Realtor of the Year. I'm with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates, and like many of you, I've seen the real estate market shift and change. People often ask, Chip, what's really going on? Well, that's a great question, and I believe in answering with solid, factual data. So let's cut through some of the noise. I invite you to reach out. Let's have a conversation about your real estate goals and the current market trends in your neighborhood. You can find all my contact information at choosechip.net.
Whether you need general vehicle upkeep and maintenance or a complete vehicle overhaul, Hall's Auto Care is here for you. We're locally owned and operated by Greg Hall and have been in business since 2014. You'll get excellent service and trustworthy advice with Hall's Auto Care. A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. We're ready to help get you safely on the road. Hall's Auto Care, 907 Ridgely Road, just off Broad Street behind Chili's. Online at hallsautocare.net. Hall's Auto Care.
Good afternoon. They're just about through with this right 40 eastbound just before Fessler's. Had traffic clogged up pretty good over here just a few minutes ago, affecting that traffic coming off the Sullivan Evans Bridge on 24 eastbound. Trying to merge in here to I-40 East. They crashed again just before Fessler's. It's heavy now on 40 East as you continue out through the Mount Juliet area. 65 a little bit slow northbound there into Goodlettsville. STR Towing and Recovery says call them 24/7 if you need help with a tow for a car or a truck. I'm Commander Chuck. You're on time traffic.
It's All Sports Talk from the Good Neighbor Network, FM 1019, 100.5, AM 1450, wgnsradio.com, and Big G TV.
And welcome back here to the WGNS studio. This is All Sports Talk. Dylan Simmons with you on a Wednesday night, joined by MTSU baseball SID Willie Failer. Willie, we're going to have a busy night, not just because of the show, but you and I are partaking in some intramural basketball coming up at 7 o'clock tonight. I got to be honest, man, I haven't played basketball regularly, I guess, since middle school. But you know what? Like I told you before, I'm about to enter my Jack Golke arc. I'm going to get like 6 threes tonight. It's going to be fantastic. How you feeling about this matchup coming up tonight?
I really hope you come out in your full goal key form, because I think we're going to need it a little bit.
Yeah, we're going to need to be at full power, but we got some dudes on that roster, and I got a feeling we're going to have a great performance tonight and throughout this season. So if you want to watch that, come to the MTSU Campus Rec Center at 7 o'clock tonight. We'll be on court number 2. Getting back to business, the MTSU baseball schedule preview and coaches preview, we'll talk about that coming up in just a sec. You've gotten to know Coach Jerry Myers a little bit better now since taking this position. What do you think his belief is, and what is he and the coaching staff looking to accomplish with this year's squad? Just talking to him, getting a general vibe around him. What's he looking for to do this year with MTSU baseball?
Yeah, I think a key for Coach Myers is he's always a little bit more about less about the bottom line, where it's wins and losses. He's one of those coaches that really truly cares about his team and the players that he brings in. So I think he's kind of eyeballing a roster full of guys that have been there for at least a year. They had about 20 newcomers last year. It was pretty much half and half, and most of those guys sticking around for another year. So I think building off of that, and then a lot of new pitchers with a lot of intriguing talent, and with the pitching background that Coach Myers has, a former pitcher himself, pitching coach at South Carolina, went to Omaha a couple of times, and then former head coach at Old Dominion as well. His record on the pitching side of things pretty much precedes him. I mean, he's produced a lot of talent, been a big help in a lot of guys' stories, and I mean, even got to the point to where he was coaching the collegiate national team at one point, and a lot of big names on that one. Jordan Montgomery, Mike Minor, some other guys in there. So he's a guy that knows how to pitch and knows how to teach dudes how to pitch.
Yeah, and I'd say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but as far as those new pitchers coming in and pitchers coming to this team year over year, I'm sure that's a big selling point for them, is that this guy knows how to pitch. He's been down that road, and he can help you develop into a potential pro-style pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys that really just sing the praises of Coach Myers and what he can do on the pitching side of things. Drew Horn and Coach Myers very, very tight, played a big role in getting Drew here and keeping Drew here, because there were, obviously a guy that performs that way in today's state of college athletics, you think that he might be inclined to leave, but Drew was never really a thought for him, and I think Coach Myers playing a really big role in Trace Phillips's arc and him getting in and out in 2 years and getting the pro deal that he wanted, and I mean, nearly setting a record with the Rays.
Yeah, and I mean, since Coach Myers has taken over, there have been some really solid guys to come out of the pipeline, and you can only hope that continued success will be a big selling point for players in the future. And
I think it definitely is, because you're getting to the point where a lot of those guys that were on these teams 3 or 4 years ago, they're starting to produce at that level. Guys like Jaden Ham, he's a guy knocking on the door with the Tigers. He was their minor league pitcher of the year last year. Got pretty much every accolade you can throughout the system from all the different minor league outlets, your Baseball Americas of the world, your Perfect Games, things like that. And then also just toolsy guys like Eric Swan, who was a now national after being traded by the Dodgers at the deadline. Swan was a part of a combined no-hitter in high A with the Great Lakes Loons. And so I think he's been able, there's two sides of it where he's able to show off. He's developed guys like Jaden Ham who lean more towards that pitchability side, but also your freak athletes like Eric Swan, who's got that bigger frame, and he's got to be able to flaunt close to a triple-digit, if not triple-digit fastball.
Yeah, man, those pitchers were special when they were here. Jaden Ham, he was Mr. Consistency from the mound, and Eric Swan, my gosh, he threw a triple-digit pitch like nobody's business. I saw him crack 100, I think, a couple times when I was on the call. So, obviously some special players over the years for MTSU baseball. But going back to this year's roster, what do you think Coach Myers was looking for as far as additions? We talked about the new additions, adding pitchers, adding a couple guys from the portal. How do you feel he and the program is taking to this new era? Because make no mistake about it, this is a new era of college athletics, transfer portal, NIL. How are they taking to it, and how has Coach Myers adjusted to the new reality of college sports?
I think the adjustment with NIL and just the vast movement of the portal, it's just a tad bit different in baseball, because, I mean, of course, you've got your junior college and your NAIA for pretty much every sport out there, but it's not as prevalent in any sport as it is baseball.
Right.
And so I think with just looking at the state of Tennessee as it is, as such a talent pipeline for junior college baseball. A lot of really solid squads here. I mean, Walters State right in the Blue Raiders' backyard, a couple hours down the road in Morristown. And so I think they really try to take advantage of the talent that's already here playing JUCO ball and bring those guys up. And we've seen it just, I want to say, out of every JUCO transfer, but 2 are from out of the state of Tennessee. So certainly keeping things local, trying to build a connection with the community, but also just looking for guys that can dominate on the hill. And I think it's they're not really discriminating between archetypes either, because you got your bigger, toolsier guys, and you got a lot of guys that lean more on that location. And you hear the term pitchability a lot with guys that aren't throwing in the upper 90s. So I guess you can say they got a fair bit of that too. One that really stands out to me thinking on that is lefty reliever John Michael Pickens.
Yeah.
He's a transfer from Shelton State Community College, the junior college national reliever of the year.
Oh, wow.
Feels like a really big get for the Blue Raiders.
Yeah.
And at times last year, it felt like they were missing a lefty out of the pen. So I think Pickens is going to play a really big role as a southpaw and a guy that can come in and get lefties out.
Man, yeah, and having a southpaw, especially one that good, huge asset to MTSU. So that's another pickup I'm really excited to see how he does this season. Let's talk about the schedule for a little bit. This team is going to be starting off the year this weekend, as a matter of fact, at the Reese with Bellarmine. The Knights, if I'm not mistaken. They have 4 of their first 5 series of the year at home as well. We talked about this a little bit during the break, and this is something that you said Coach Myers feels very strongly about as far as making sure that you start the year off at home, getting your even number of home and away games. What kind of dynamic do you expect that having in that start that could create for the Blue Raiders?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like the old saying, there's no place like home, and it's certainly like that for the Blue Raiders. It's a group that wants to get comfortable playing in their own ballpark and be ready for conference play, and there's not a better way to do that, consistently, safely, and making yourself better than doing it here in Murfreesboro, not having to go anywhere. But something he had said today that I thought was really interesting is they leverage being in Middle Tennessee, because a lot of these regional schools not too far from any of them. And the other thing is, since we're in the South and, although the weather is as unpredictable as it is, last week we were all sliding on ice. Yesterday it was 70 and there were majority of people wearing shorts outside, which that was great.
Tennessee weather.
Yeah,
Yep.
more of that, please. But that opens the door for them to host a lot of teams that you wouldn't normally get the opportunity to host, and have them travel to come to you, like your Oaklands of the world last year. So those series are really big. And although Bellarmine not too far up the road in Louisville, a smaller program, but a matchup I'm excited to see, because they've only matched up 4 times in either program's history, and the last time was in 1974, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
And Bellarmine leading it 1-3. So I think the Blue Raiders are going to have a big opportunity to flip that around, right some wrongs from the 70s, and whatever was going on then. But I think it's going to be a really good measuring stick for them ahead of the rest of this non-conference slate.
Yeah, you start with Bellarmine at home this weekend, and I think the weather looks solid this weekend. I think it should mostly cooperate. Sunday might be a little up in the air, right?
Friday's definitely going to be a good day for baseball, and earlier talking with some of the operation guys, shout out Chandler Todd, by the way, my king, my goat, Chandler. Worried about a little bit of weather on Saturday, but not going to prematurely call anything. But the one thing I will say on that is keep an eye out for Blue Raider Baseball's social channels. It's Blue Raider Baseball on Facebook, and then on Instagram and X at @MT_baseball. So check those places if you're worried about weather delays. We will post as soon as Coach Myers and the rest of the athletic department have a decision on that front.
Yes, and this man is the Shakespeare behind the MTSU Baseball social media, so make sure you check out all their available social media outlets. But like you said, at least Friday looking like a great day for some MTSU college baseball. Looking outside of the way the season starts, what are some Conference USA series that stand out or could serve as hinge series for the Blue Raiders this season? I'm thinking something like the road series at Louisiana Tech, or maybe even bigger at home against Western Kentucky. But is there something else you're watching for, or is it going to be kind of along those lines for you as well?
Pretty much all of those home series to me are really intriguing, because there's a lot of good teams in Conference USA that are making their way to Middle Tennessee this year. Kennesaw State starting it off very, very strong. Kennesaw, a really good squad, made a run in the tournament, made some noise, and they've lost a lot of pieces, but it's kind of we're at that point where you're at this level in Conference USA and a lot of other mid-major programs where you're like, okay, but everyone else has lost a lot of guys too. So
yeah,
kind of just staying on that home slate. Kennesaw State going to be really big. New Mexico State coming here. They're always a wild card of a team. And Delaware going to face off with Delaware for the first time in conference play. I believe it'll be one of the first matchups for the program. Strong baseball program, and in our country's first state for the Blue Hens. So that one will be interesting. And then Western Kentucky and Liberty rounding out the home schedule. There's not really two bigger brand identities in Conference USA, and Western Kentucky was really one of those teams last year where you're like, you would have thought they were the ones making the Murray State run with just the talent and the guys that they had on their roster. I mean, they had a third-round pick in the MLB draft.
Yeah, they had some tremendous players last year. There was a reason they were ranked in the top 25. One notable exception this year, correct me if I'm wrong, Dallas Baptist no longer in Conference USA now, is that right? Or still in? Okay.
Still in CUSA. This is their final year before hitting the road for the Pac-12. But Blue Raiders avoiding Dallas Baptist this year. Made the trip to Dallas last year, dropped 2 of 3 with a really gutsy performance from former Blue Raider. Man, that's sad to say, former Blue Raider. Will Jenkins, the guy we lost at graduation, went 6 innings, a 2-run ball to hold DBU down for a little bit.
Yes. So my mistake on the DBU thing, brain got thinking a year ahead. They're going to the Pac-12 next year for baseball, and that'll be an interesting fit for DBU, and we'll see how Conference USA adjust after that. Looking at the rest of the schedule, and I don't want to focus so much on expectations here, but when you think about what this team potentially wants to accomplish down the road of the season, how do you think they'll need to navigate this schedule, and how do you think the early point in the season will prep them for those Conference USA and Big Ten series coming up later on in the year?
Yeah, I mean, I really think that this is a group that's searching for some consistency on the mound because, I mean, obviously you can't expect to run out the same rotation every single weekend, and that's almost malpractice to have that expectation of, okay, this guy's going to be able to go every single Friday night, give us 7 innings, 100 pitches. It's just that's not the world we live in, where guys are more trained to give every effort rather than, okay, I still want to be on the hill in the 8th. And so I think they're looking just for depth and consistency because that was kind of just something that ailed them at times last year. And I think it's something that they're going to have. It's just yet to be seen.
Yeah, and one more thing that I noticed about the schedule. They've got some pretty long road trips in conference play. I mean, they go to Huntsville to play Sam Houston. They're going to be at FIU in Miami. That's a pretty long trip. And there's one more, I think, at Louisiana Tech in Ruston. So you got some pretty decent road trips there. I just remember when I went to Miami for the FIU series back in 2024, I felt so jet lagged after that trip was over. I can't imagine how those players are going to deal with it. And the fact they're able to play as well as they are shows these are some tremendous athletes. But those are going to be some interesting tests as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think Coach Myers will be one of the first people to try to tell you that it doesn't play a factor on the travel. I think it affects everyone differently.
Yeah.
But the one that stands out to me is the fact that they don't have to go to New Mexico this year.
That's because, a big one, yeah.
Not in this position at that time last year, so got the fortunate opportunity to stay in Murfreesboro, and there were a lot of people that were not a fan of that trip. So I think they're all just kind of thanking their lucky stars to be avoiding the trip to Las Cruces, but still having to go to Huntsville, having to go to Miami, having to go to Missouri State for the first time. That'll be another big one. That'll be a little bit of a haul on a bus too.
Yeah. There's definitely going to be some decent road trips, but the good news, again, for the Blue Raiders to start the year off, they got a lot of home series on the way. It all starts this Friday, Saturday, potentially Sunday, when MTSU takes on Bellarmine at Reese Smith Jr. Baseball Field. And, of course, if you want, you can talk to Willie Failer there. He'll be up in the press box guarding things as the SID. All right, when we come back, Willie and I will react to Super Bowl 60 and the Seahawks winning their second ring, and also preview the Daytona 500. All that and more, plus the Blue Raider Insider Report coming up after this break.
Are you paying too much for home and auto insurance? Let the experienced professionals at My Team Insurance in Murfreesboro help. With decades of experience, their team provides superior customer service, low rates, and a clear understanding of your coverage needs. Whether it's home, auto, health, business, or life insurance, My Team Insurance makes protection simple and affordable. Visit myteaminsurance.com today. That's myteaminsurance.com. My Team Insurance, proud supporters of the Blue Raiders.
The following is sponsored by Bid My Listing.
Selling your home with Ready, R-E-D-Y. Real estate agents will pay you up front for your listing, just for a chance to sell your home. Why would they pay to be your agent? Well, your listing is really valuable. So if an agent is smart, they'll go on Ready and offer you cash up front to get it. And you do want a smart agent, right? Call 888-545-READY. 888-545-REDY.
Hi, I'm Wade Hayes, owner of Toots Good Food and Fun. I strongly believe that volunteers make a positive difference in the quality of life here in our community.
State Farm agent Michael Busey serves as vice chair for Main Street Murfreesboro's advisory board. He is essentially the board's steady second in command, the person who keeps things moving when the chair can't be there, and helps to share the leadership load. Michael Busey, a dedicated volunteer with Main Street Murfreesboro, whom people can count on.
At Toots, we strongly believe that it's important for every one of our citizens to give some of their time and talent back into the community. And we want to honor these individuals with a Toots gift certificate good at any of our Rutherford County locations. 860 Northwest Broad Street, on Church Street in the Barfield area, in Smyrna on Sam Ridley, and Toots West on Franklin Road at Rucker Lane.
Next on All Sports Talk, it's the Blue Raider Insider Report with Chip Walters of Exit Realty, Bob Lamb & Associates.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and let's start out with Blue Raider baseball. We're counting down to the opening day of the 2026 season. That will be Friday afternoon, 3 o'clock against Bellarmine. And the promotional schedule for the weekend has been announced. Opening day this Friday, featuring Dollar Day with special tickets, soft drinks, and hot dogs for just $1 each to celebrate the beginning of the season. Every Friday will be game night at Reese Smith Field, including Blue Raider trivia, bingo, and more. You can compete for your chance to win Blue Raider-themed prizes. Salute Sundays will return to the Reese to honor and celebrate active service duty members and veterans who served our country. Blue Raider baseball will take the diamond, donning camouflage hats or jerseys to honor all those who have served. You can enjoy special in-game moments dedicated to celebrating their courage and sacrifice. New this season, Salute Sundays now include discounted admission for active duty service members and veterans. Present your military ID at the box office on game days to redeem your discount. $2 Tuesdays return to Reese Smith Jr. Field for the Blue Raider midweek matchups. There will be 7 $2 Tuesdays this year with tickets, soft drinks, and hot dogs, all priced at $2. The Blue Raiders will be giving away many different MTSU-themed items during the 32-game home slate, including fanny packs, T-shirts, trading cards, and more. You can find out more on GoBlueRaiders.com. And again, game times scheduled for the weekend are this Friday at 3 o'clock, Saturday and Sunday at 1 o'clock, as the Blue Raiders open the season against the Knights of Bellarmine at Reese Smith Jr. Field. Blue Raider football news. MTSU will be introducing a new fan engagement opportunity with the launch of Coffee with Coach beginning next Wednesday, February 18th, inside the Smith Center. The event will take place in one of the position meeting rooms and will begin at 8 a.m. Coffee with Coach is designated to provide fans with a relaxed, informal setting to connect with head coach Derek Mason, hear updates on the program, and ask your questions in an open conversational atmosphere. Again, it's open to the public. It's free. You just need to get there early. It starts at 8 o'clock, and the first one is next Wednesday. So put that on your calendar. Conference USA Basketball Travel Day for the Blue Raider men as they head down to Kennesaw, Georgia, getting ready for tomorrow night's game. Tonight, there are a couple of games on the slate. UTEP at Jack State, Liberty at New Mexico State. tomorrow, Middle plays at Kennesaw State, 5:30 tip time. We'll be on the air at 5 p.m. with the pregame show. Delaware plays at FIU and Louisiana Tech at Missouri State. Standings going into the midweek games, Liberty at 12-0. They have a 4-game lead on Jacksonville State. Sam Houston 8-5, Missouri State 7-5. Kennesaw and Louisiana Tech are 6-6. Western Kentucky 6-7. Middle 5-7. UTEP 5-8. FIU 4-8. New Mexico State 4-9, and Delaware is at 3-9. Women's side, no games tonight. The full schedule tomorrow night. Kennesaw at Western Kentucky, UTEP at Liberty, New Mexico State at Delaware, Missouri State at Sam Houston, FIU at Louisiana Tech, and Jacksonville State is in Murfreesboro for a 6:30 game, which you can hear right here on WGNS, beginning with the pregame show at 6 o'clock. Right now, Louisiana Tech leads the women's side with a 10-1 record, and they've got a 2.5-game lead over Sam Houston and Missouri State, who are 7-3. FIU and Middle are currently at 7-4. That's it for today, folks. We'll have another update coming soon here on the Blue Raider Network and the Big G, WGNS.
It's all sports talk from the Good Neighbor Network, FM 1019, 100.5, AM 1450, WGNSradio.com, and Big G TV.
Welcome back. All Sports Talk, Segment 3 on this Wednesday night. Dylan Simmons and the one and only Willie Failer with you on this Wednesday evening. And, Willie, there was a game that took place this last weekend. You hear about this?
I thought it was a Bad Bunny concert.
Ah, yes. Well, that was also a big talking point that we saw. But Super Bowl 60 took place this past weekend, and the Seattle Seahawks took home the victory in, I think it's fair to say, dominant fashion over the New England Patriots. The defense, I mean, I heard a lot of good stuff about the dark side defense and what they were capable of. And, of course, you watch them in a few games, and you're impressed by what you see. But, man, to do what they did in that Super Bowl was ultra impressive. I think defensively, probably the best game I've seen out of a team in a Super Bowl since maybe the Buccaneers against the Chiefs in 2020. You could argue the Eagles kind of were at that same level last year. I know that makes you happy, Mr. Eagles fan, but what did you make of the Super Bowl?
I'm going to choose my words here carefully because I don't want to disrespect the Legion of Boom when I say this, because there's a lot of people that have compared the dark side defense to the Legion of Boom because it's kind of that converging point where you have 4 or 5 young stars finally put themselves on that national stage. But the difference is, that Legion of Boom, it was the Legion of Boom. It was that secondary with Earl Thomas, Richard Sherman, Bam Bam, Cam Chancellor, former Hokie, and all those other guys, Jeremy Lane playing a big part in that Super Bowl win. But this group, it's a lot more just through all 3 levels and a lot more of Mike McDonald masterclass getting in there along with the players doing it out on the field.
I have to give it to Mike McDonald. What he did in developing that roster and developing that defense was sensational. And man, Sam Darnold, the guy is a Super Bowl champion now. Think about this. He got a ring before Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and I think Baker Mayfield were all in his draft class, and he was the first one to get a Super Bowl. And a lot of people had written his career off like he was never going to be able to do anything, and now he's a Super Bowl champion. So, you got to say, what a redemption arc for Sam Darnold this was.
Yeah, I mean, not even the it's great, the redemption arc that Sam has, but the thing that's jumped out to me more is just, what about that team building for the Seahawks? Because, I mean, not too much different of a roster that they had outside of Sam Darnold and then adding Cooper Kupp after the Rams had to cut him as a cap casualty. And so I think just their ability to see that Geno Smith was not cutting it for them and that they needed just a little bit more, and they were able to go out and get their guy in Sam Darnold, swiping him away from the Vikings.
Yeah, they've done a tremendous job in building up that roster. Shout out K9, Kenneth Walker, had a fantastic game, 135 rushing yards, felt like 250 because he just burst through that defense a multitude of times and got some big runs. And I want to shout out as well Gray Zabel from Pierce, South Dakota, offensive lineman. For those who know a little bit about Dylan Simmons lore, and the phrase Dylan Simmons lore makes me a little bit scared, but if you know the lore, I came from Pierce, South Dakota this past year, worked at radio station KCCR. And Gray Zabel, of course, from Pierre, got drafted to the Seattle Seahawks, rookie this year on the offensive line, won a ring. So shout out, Gray. Congratulations on that. And congratulations to the Seahawks, I guess, and this is the question that everybody asks after the Super Bowl, but can the Seahawks go back-to-back next year, Willie? What do you think?
It's really hard to tell. I think the Seahawks were a little bit of a benefit of a super weakened AFC. There's a lot of people saying, like, man, the Patriots looked like they were one of the worst teams we've ever seen make a Super Bowl, and I don't necessarily agree with that. Really talented group. Mike Vrabel, we all know in the Middle Tennessee area how good of a coach he is. I think Drake May's got a really bright future ahead of him and what he can do. I think it's going to be interesting how he handles forever living in the shadow of Tom Brady as long as he's the guy in Foxborough.
Yeah.
But I think for the Seahawks, it's just it's such a coin flip, and it's not even a coin flip. It's whatever's three-sided in the NFC West because it's just such a good division, man.
Yeah.
I mean, the 49ers, when they're on, they're that same exact kind of team, and then Sean McVay and the Rams and just the multitude of weapons they have on offense, and it feels like the older Matthew Stafford gets, the better he is.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. That division's going to be threatening next year. The North has some good teams. Of course, the Bears, we expect to take a leap. The Packers, I'm fingers crossed that they'll be back next year. And, hey, your Eagles, maybe they'll get things sorted out on offense. I know they just had to fire their coordinator, so maybe it'll work out, and we'll have a really competitive NFC next year. Sure hope so. But I want to move on to this because, we're both massive NASCAR fans, and there's not a better time to be a NASCAR fan than right now. Because the Great American Race, the Daytona 500, is back this weekend, and I am very, very excited, Willie. This has kind of been overused by a few different people, but it does feel like we're in the midst of a new era here because you've got a revamped chase. We've finally got rid of the, I'm just going to say, dumb playoff system that NASCAR had, so we've got a good championship format.
You didn't like winning you're in?
No, actually. I didn't like the fact that you could be 35th in points and still somehow make the playoffs. Imagine if the New York Giants won one game and all of a sudden they're in the postseason. Doesn't really work.
I feel like that's happened before. I feel like the NFC East or more of the NFC South has been to that point where we're like, the Buccaneers are 6-11. Here you go.
Well, you got me there.
Somebody's got to go play the 2 seed.
Poor NFC South. My gosh, they need some help down there. But all that being said, this is going to be a fantastic Daytona 500, I'd imagine. Racing looks good so far in practice. Qualifying going to be later tonight. So obviously we still have the duels in front of us, the truck race, the O'Reilly Auto Parts race. Got to make sure to say that. It's not the Xfinity Series anymore.
Yeah, that one threw me for a loop, for sure.
It's the new name. But the Cup Series race, of course, coming up on Sunday. So who do you think, rough prediction, who do you think could win this Daytona 500, Willie?
Ever since Kevin Harvick retired, I've become more of just an unbiased watcher and more of just watching for fun, and I really like things going fast and turning left. And so I would love to see history and see Willie B go back-to-back, let Byron just really, really grasp onto history because like you'd mentioned, a lot of people do feel like this is kind of the new beginning, and it feels like he can really be one of those faces to step up and be that next level of domination for the sport.
He certainly has the capability to do so, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's ever been a racer who's won 3 500s in a row.
Correct, yeah.
I don't think that's ever happened, so if he's able to do that, I mean, my gosh, talk about a feather in your cap. Only so many guys have been able to win multiple 500s, much less three in a row. There is a guy, though, who could win his 4th Daytona 500 this weekend, Mr. Denny Hamlin, and that would tie him second all-time with Cale Yarborough. Of course, he's a master at the restrictor plates. I do think, though, I've got a feeling, I'm going to say Ryan Blaney wins the Daytona 500. I like how Blaney and Penske, more often than not, perform on the restrictor plates, and I think that we're going to see Blaney have a big performance. But personally, fingers crossed, and you know this as well as anybody, Willie, but I'm a big Jimmy Johnson fan. That 84 Carvana Toyota was 10th in practice, and I just got a good feeling that he is going to be up the front as this race comes to a close. So I'm feeling really good about it. And man, there are so many great storylines coming into this year's 500. And not just the 500, the truck race looks cool too. Cletus McFarland is going to be in the truck race. That's a big talking point among a lot of people. Tony Stewart, by the way, Smoke, is going to be in the truck race as well. I know that makes your heart happy to see that. And I think
I know how I'm spending my Friday night.
Yes,
and that is watching Tony Stewart and reminiscing on being 8 and just watching that 14 go crazy.
Yeah, I still miss the 48 Lowe's Chevrolet. By the way, folks, I guess this is a surprise announcement. I will be at the Atlanta race coming up in a couple Sundays down there in Hampton, Georgia. So if you want to come to Atlanta and check out an awesome race, maybe you'll run into me at some point in time. I'm going to go see what the new Atlanta is all about. But I do think this is going to be a fantastic Daytona 500. Hopefully